All right, welcome to another Sales After Dark because money never sleeps, and it is Tech Tuesday. If you're watching this on a replay, fast forward it 5 minutes. I'm going to say hi to my friends, my family, and then we'll jump into the content where on Tech Tuesday I'm going to show you something cool, and I got something really cool for you. And then at the end, we'll take some questions and answers, or rather questions, and I'll hopefully have an answer for you. So let's see who is on. My man, there he is, Chris. Let me bring you up here, man. I'm going to bring you up right there. Chris, how's it going, man? Chris Stone, man, great dude. Is this who I think it is? Richard Harden, great speaker here in Atlanta, an awesome guy, an awesome individual, man. Dude, good to see you here, man. Sergio Perez desde Panamá. Bienvenido, hermano. Luigi Giovannetti, man. Welcome to the family. In attendance, always glad to have you here. Jocelyn, Nicole, St. Hunge, good evening to you, right back at you. Kush Patel, Fremont, California. Ooh, caliente, hot. Mia Knox, West Coast, always glad to have you here. There's my man, Chris Stone. Herb Wash, I missed you last week, man. Were you around? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Yeah, I love it, man. And there he is. Pete. Oh, Pete, you want to hang out because, Pete, I got something specifically for you, Pete. You may not like me after this, Pete, but I got something for you. Pete says from Cleveland, Ohio. Victor and all, I can do you more good on LinkedIn. Get ready for awesomeness. All my rep friends, please watch this. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Pete. You might regret saying that, but thank you. All right, Chris, man, glad to have you here, man. Cast ahead again, welcoming everybody here. Love it. Camless. So what? Man, good morning. I know you're from India, man. Thank you. It's on, man. Cesar Castro V. Santiago, Chile in the house, man. By the way, I like your new graphic, that whole fireside chat thing. Cesar's all about storytelling, man. He's great at it, man. And I love that new graphic you use, man. It's really cool, man. Marielis Torres. Whoop, whoop. That's like some Arsenio Hall stuff from way back when. Do you know what I'm talking about, Marielis, or is it just me? Tarun, what's happening, man? Good to have you here. We have Ronald Padilla. Good morning, sir, from Manila, the Philippines. We're the thriller in Manila. Love it, man. Michelle Verma, good morning. Right back at you. Good morning to you. We got Freddie Corona. Saludos desde Las Vegas, man. Thank you for joining me, Freddie. Also, we have Chris Gloss. Dude, long time. I think I'm starting to enjoy this live stream because I'm connected with people I haven't talked to in a while, man. It's been a while, brother. It's been a while. Duncan, Joy in the house. Happy Tuesday from Puerto Rico, Boricua. All right, welcome here, man. We got Joseph. Hello. Back at you, man. We got, let me see, Baronio 2. Rock on, man. I'm going to do my best. Maestro Taylor, much love from Cleveland. Everybody's from Cleveland. Trinidad Tobago's always in the house with my man. Awesome sales trainer, Jared. Thank you for being here. Tech Tuesday is on. I hope you like what we have today, Duncan. Pete's not going to like it. I don't know. He doesn't know what's coming yet. He doesn't even have an idea what's coming his way. Marcello, great to have you team live. There you go, man. We got Brian again. Gator's always in the house. Anthony Fatino. Dude, that sounds like one of the Backstreet Boys, man. Or is it Joey Fatone? Something like that. Anyway, glad you're here, man. Thank you for joining us. From Aruba on vacation tonight. I feel so honored that you're taking time because I'd be like, firesiding on the beach somewhere right now. So glad to have you here, man. Marcello's from Atlanta, Georgia, man. Great, man. We have Amine Shakiri. I screwed that up, but I love you anyway, man. Thank you for being here, man. All right, Juka's in the house. I mean, the party's almost there. Congrats. Thank you very much. Good evening, crew. Hello from Alpharetta. It's a great place to be, which is where I'm at. All right. Got something for you. It's Tech Tuesday. So I had to look, I'm trying to curate the best of the best, but I'm trying to find tools that you like, that's really cool that you can use. So today, I got something for you, okay? So let me just kind of swipe over, and I want to introduce you to Crystalnose. Now, if you don't know what Crystalnose is, you're about to find out. Now, Crystalnose is essentially a tool, an app. It's a personality tool. Now, here's the cool thing. Have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to do an outreach program to people on LinkedIn or some of your clients? And, if we understood their personality, maybe we would know how to talk to them or how to address them. What if there was a software that can tell you their personality based on their profiles and postings What if we can also figure out what to say, what not to say? What if we had a tool that integrated so easily that it would give you this information even before you sent out your first email? And that is what I'm about to show you right now. So this is Crystal. If you go to crystalnose.com, you can kind of do it on the side if you want. It's a cool software, and the whole thing is about predicting, personality. Now, we don't know what the secret sauce is. Now, so I don't know how they do it, but what I did is I ran a profile for myself. Now, here's what's cool about Crystalnose. You get 10 free credits. That means you can look up 10 people before you have to start paying. Now, I only looked up myself. Now, I don't know why it's showing Joe Biden and Oprah Winfrey. I did not look them up. I don't know why that's there, but there it is. I looked myself up because I wanted to find out, and I think that's the first thing you should do is how accurate is this? So here's how it works. You download the app on your Chrome browser. So if you have Chrome, you're good. Download the app, and I'm going to show you how it works. But first, let me show you what it found for Victor. Moi. Here's what it said, man. I thought it was really interesting because it was like, it says, here's Victor, and it says apparently that Victor is a visionary. Yes, visionary. Victor is spontaneous. I don't know about that. I'm a little shaky on that. Victor is adventurous. I don't know about that one. I'm with the visionary and maybe spontaneous. The adventurous, it depends, right? So Victor is likely to thrive in chaos. Probably true, right? It's like, yeah, it's always a mess out there, right? With a preference for shaping new ideas and taking calculated risks. I got to admit, that's pretty close, right? So then you get into the DISC assessment, right? And it says I'm a DI, right? So here's what I am. I'm just a DI, which is an initiator. So if you look at DISC, what is it? By the way, if you're familiar with DISC, hit me with a 1 if you know what the DISC assessment is, especially if you've taken the DISC assessment. So basically, there's 4 personality types. There's dominant, influential, conscientious, and steady. I'm not going to go into all these, but it put me right there. Do you see me right there? There is Victor Antonio. And as far as an archetype, it says I'm more of an initiator. Can you guys see that? It says I'm more of an initiator. And I don't like the way it puts spontaneous, opinionated, and ambitious. The opinionated bothered me, but I'm going to accept that criticism, okay? So, and on the website, by the way, if you want to, by the way, I'm going to go through this very quickly because you guys can look this up. I just want to make you aware of it. If you want information on the same website, you can find out everything you need to know about DISC. So if you're kind of one of these people that needs to know everything, again, here's a DISC personality. It goes through the whole thing. Why use the DISC test, right? But here's the part I like to get to. There's D, right? If it's a D personality, it says someone who ranks highly in dominance, right? And nobody's ever one or the other. You're a combination thereof, right? And so the next one, and by the way, temperament typically speaks confidently. I can't argue with that one right there. I thought that was a good one. Communication style. As an action, someone who tests highly in dominance will communicate as efficiently as possible. Get to the point. I think I'm okay with that description. So when I went through this in all seriousness, I was like, okay, I think this kind of fits. So it's kind of a D and I. The I here is influential. So I guess I have that combination, a little dominance, a little influence, persuasion, and all that. Can't argue with that. But anyway, I don't want to go through all this. You guys can do this, right? There's the temperament piece, communication style. It really goes through the whole thing. There's the S, personality, which is steadiness. And the last one is conscientiousness, right? So here's how it works. Check it out, check it out, check it out. And then we're going to talk about applications. So what you do is, I think this is just the same thing. I just kind of went through this. Is this my, I went through the whole thing again. So here's how you use it. You basically, if you want to look up somebody's personality, you just go to LinkedIn. And by the way, you can tie this into the CRM. Okay, so you can use this with a CRM like Salesforce, Pipedrive, and so forth. But let's try to use it, let's say, with LinkedIn. Let's say that we want to reach out to, I don't know, who is somebody who is highly influential that we would like to reach out to, just dreaming. I would say, let's talk to Bill Gates. Why not, right? So then we would talk to Bill Gates, and it is no surprising. This man is a C. He's an analyst, right? Bill tends to be objective and direct, favoring straightforward facts over ambiguous emotions. He's a robot, folks. He's a robot. I knew it. I knew it. And so what it does is that it tells you how to speak to Bill. Okay, now keep in mind that you're going to be able to we're going to do it right now. We're going to do a test. We're going to go to LinkedIn, and we're going to pick a personality, and it's going to tell you how to communicate with this personality before you reach out. That's the power of this AI tool. So Bill is likely to be serious and thorough, So again, it gives you tips on how to communicate. Remain logical and objective. In other words, be like Spock, right? Like that. Be like Spock. And so start the conversation with issues to resolve. Trust that he will follow verbal instructions, right? Set the expectations for Bill. Bill wants you to set the expectations when you're talking to him. Prepare the content. When giving Bill a demo, don't spend too much time building rapport. Like, hey, what's up, Bill? How's that old Microsoft thing going? He doesn't want to hear that, okay? He doesn't want to hear that. He wants to have a conversation. Let's get to it. Let's understand. So that gives you kind of an idea. And based on what we know about Bill Gates, this is kind of, it kind of lines up nicely. When discussing pricing with Bill, provide full itemized list and breakdown. That's an interesting one because it's always about how you present pricing to people. So that's also an interesting tip. How to persuade Bill. Here's how you persuade Bill. Speak with clarity and specificity. Make sure you're prepared for tough questions because Bill likes to ask a lot of tough questions. Ask him what problem he's trying to solve and how does Bill make decisions? Asking Bill questions that acquire lots of information. Look for potential flaws, so forth and so on. And again, how to negotiate with Bill. How's that? Bring data and logic to your claims. Now, this person, Bill Gates is an analytical person, so I think this is dead on. Avoid being overly optimistic. Hey, Bill, this is going to be great. It's going to work. Bill doesn't want to hear that. Okay, so don't do that to Bill. So I use Bill Gates here as an example because, everybody knows him, and we can kind of agree with this actual style. What do you think of this so far, by the way? Give me your little feedback here. What do you think of this so far? And then let's do something. Let's do something interesting. Let's go over to LinkedIn, right? There's the Victor Antonio profile. There's Victor Antonio right there. Look at that. Look at that. That is a cool picture. I don't care what you guys say. That's a cool picture. Now, you see over on the right-hand side here, do you see this right here where the mouse is? It says view personality, right? Now, I've already viewed my personality. So what I want to do is I want to view somebody's personality. Now, who should I pick on tonight? Oh, there's Pete. Bam. Now, I have not done this. Pete, I'm about to use up one of my 10 credits on you, brother. So I hope your personality is worth it. So what you then do is simply you're going to click over here on the view the personality. By the way, should I do it or should I not do it? Give me a 1 if I should, a 0 if I shouldn't, man. Let me know what you think. Should I violate his personality profile? Should I look at it? Give me a 1. If you don't think I should do it, give me a 0. That's all I want to know. So I feel guilty. I don't want to make this decision on my own. So should I do it? Give me a 1. Should I not do it? Give me a 0. Okay. Let's see what it says. Juka says yes. Everybody seems to be in, Peter. So anyway, Pete, I was going to say 0, man. Well, Pete says go for it. So we're in, man. We're in. So having fun with this. So now it's scanning, it's looking, it's searching. Who is this Pete? Who is this Pete character? Bam. So then what you'll see is over to the right, let's find out who this Pete guy that's always appearing on my live stream, what is Pete all about? Pete tends to be outgoing, is likely to trust intuition over existing rules of logic. That means he's illogical at times. That's what I think it means. But a quick tip, stay optimistic and focus on the future. So he's an optimist, Matt. He's going forward. His influencer type is ID. He's an influencer. He likes telling stories, avoids social isolation. He's a sales guy. Why not, right? I need to call Pete. Now, here's the conversation coach. This is really interesting. Let's say you need to call Pete, right? And you can call Pete to make either email Pete or have a meeting with Pete. But let's say we're going to call Pete. And then it gives you options like, I call him Pete because you want to make a sales pitch, you want to negotiate, you want to create a good impression, persuade to take action. And let me see if I can get in. Like I said, I'm using the free version, so I don't know how much it's going to let me do. And I can get advice, so I can click. By the way, you can just see Pete's profile right there. Boom, there's Pete right there. And then you can get advice, right? And then here's the advice. When you're talking to Pete, say this. I can show you an example if you want. More forward-thinking people are doing it this way, Peter. I love hearing people react to this, Pete. Here's the high-level overview, Pete. These are things now, do's and don'ts when you're dealing with Pete. Pete's a complicated dude. So you want to send visual aids via email or screen share. That's a do. Try to keep the conversation focused. Joke around a little bit. Apparently, Pete has a sense of humor. Provide a high-level summary of value. Let's go with what you should not do. Don't provide too much additional information. I'm with Pete on this one. Don't talk too much about past experiences. You'll bore Pete. Use overly descriptive language, like, you just take too long to explain something. Focus too much on risk or downside. Pete's an optimist. Don't focus too much on the downside. Let's look at the upside, because that's who Pete is. So that already is pretty cool. So that's the coaching. If you come right here, they give you different playbooks. So a playbook, like in sales, it's, what's your plan, what's your approach, what's your outreach program, and these are the different playbooks that you can go through. Getting to know Pete, communicating with Pete, working with Pete, and it'll walk you through suggestions, okay? So you can go through all these. Let me see if it'll give me getting to know Pete without taking me, and it builds a whole playbook. Look at this. And then again, I got to view the upgrade to actually see it, so we'll have to back out of that one. But you get the idea. It's a very powerful tool. Let me see on Pete. Yeah, personality comparison. I wonder if it'll compare our personalities. I saw something where it does compare our personalities, and I think you have to do the upgrade to get that, so too bad. But these are all the things you can talk to Pete about. You and Pete on working together. If you were in a sales meeting, how would that work out? If you were in a job interview, how would that work out? If you had to resolve a conflict, how would that work out? So it would give you playbooks, things to do or not to do. The other thing here is email templates. So it'll actually suggest these subject lines and ways of sending emails to connect with Pete so he could be more likely to respond than not. Clearly state the reason for the outreach, but keep the subject under 7 words. For example, great running into you, coffee soon? ? Don't be too concise, okay? And then here's the greetings, and then it actually gives you some body stuff. As far as body language, be expressive and enthusiastic after COVID. If you decide to talk to Pete face-to-face, this is some of the information. So again, there's a lot of stuff that you can look on here. Text analysis. By the way, this text analysis is something like the sentiment analysis we did a couple of weeks ago with the other program called Kojito. Remember the Kojito software, the AI software that looks at sentiment analysis? You can actually put content in here and it'll give you some type of sentiment analysis on Pete's email. So in other words, you can take this email, paste it in there, and it'll give you some analysis of what's going on. So it's a very interesting tool. And so what's interesting about this tool, again, is that it works with LinkedIn and it works with your CRM. My question to you is, Pete says, that is scary, pretty much on the money. There you go. So I think that's good. So Pete, if you think it's on the money, then I think it's pretty interesting. So this is the tool I wanted to show you. I had a note here. I wanted to highlight something that it is using artificial intelligence, obviously. It's collecting data, and I think the more input you give it, like, for example, you say focus on Pete. Every time Pete posts something, and again, we don't know what the algorithm is, because obviously that's their secret sauce, for Crystalnose. But I have to assume that every time he does, they first looked at Pete's background. They looked at his work experience. They looked at his educational background. Then they looked at his history, posting, sharing, and things like that. And that's how they began to develop this personality. I'm sure they took whatever postings, when he wrote something, they took some sentiment analysis from that and determined that, hey, he's a really friendly guy. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show you this evening. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I think it's obvious how you could use this tool. But tell me, now that you've seen it, how would you use it? And let's jump into the actual, let's go back into, I'll take some questions right now. That's all I'm going to show you. I don't want to go too deep into this. There's more you can do, but how would you use this? How would you use this? And I'll take some questions right now and we'll go there. Tell me how would you use this? Let me see some of your questions. First of all, I want to bring up Pete's comment because Pete's like saying, it's dead on, man. So I think if it is kind of scary. When I looked at mine, it was pretty scary. So you can run it on your own profile. I think that's where you should begin. And by the way, on the website, you could actually take a personality test that kind of helps them, I'll just say, fine-tune your personality. And I know that you can also take, like, for example, if I was really selling to Pete and I had full access, I know that it can show our personalities next to each other, like, right next to each other. So it'll say Pete's like this, Victor's like this. And it actually tells us where we could have potential conflict in our conversations. One more thing, just as a side note, it also has a group report. This is interesting. The group report, let's say that you're a manager and you're thinking of putting a team together to solve a specific problem. What you can do is use Crystalnose to say, I want to create a group, right? And what you can do is pull in all the personalities, right? Based on LinkedIn, all the personalities of the people you want on the team. And it really goes through who the personalities are, how they're going to blend, where the potential conflict's going to be, and then you can make a decision whether or not you want to maybe readjust or fine-tune the team. Tell me that isn't cool. It's just a mind blower. Because before just throwing people together, you can actually see if their personalities gel. And you can actually do that on the software. Do you have Victor have, okay, there's half a question there. Give me the rest of that, Juka. Great tool for smart calling, initial conversations, and meeting. I think so. That's why I would use it. I would use it there. I think it's a pretty cool tool. I would use it for annual business review if there are stakeholders there I would not normally see. Brilliant. So you're going into a meeting. I mean, that would really be interesting, Chris, right? You're going into a stakeholder meeting or an annual business review, and there's some people in the room. And if you know who's in the room, that kind of gives you an idea who their styles are. And if they ask questions, you can kind of adjust it. Assuming you have like maybe only 5 or 10 people, right? So you can kind of figure out who's who. But I think it would be interesting as a tool just to use it to kind of highlight, the different personalities in the room. I would actually use it. I would actually tell people, look, before I begin this presentation, I did a personality review. Here are the 10 people in the room. Here are your personalities. Are these accurate? I could use that as part of, I guess, to, add some levity or just, to create some humor and break the ice. So that would be cool to use. Juka, what do you got? Do you have how different presentations for different personality types? Do you have how different presentations for different, there's, within the Sales Velocity Academy, I know I have, and I'm trying to remember which of the programs it is, Sales Velocity Academy, I think I have one in there because I talked about the 4 different personality styles and how you talk to them. There's the sociable, amiable, analytical, and dominant personality styles. And so each one would be different. And in Effective Presentations, I think is the program within the Sales Velocity Academy. Check it out. In there I have, how you provide, and the phrase I use is mental candy for everybody. In other words, when you're speaking to different people, how do you adjust your presentation while you're doing it, knowing that people will receive information differently? For example, the analytical person will want more data, right? The amiable person wants just to wants to connect, know that you empathize with their situation. And so the dominant person just wants to talk. And so if you look at Effective Presentations within the Sales Velocity Academy, you should find something like that. So great question, by the way. Rod, what do you got here, Rod? Let me see. Sorry about that. Rod, hey, Victor, how can you really ascertain its accuracy? I can't. It's an AI tool that's probably learning, right? So I think the tool's been around for I think like 7, 8 years, right? And so keep in mind that the more you post, the more data you have on the actual system. If my understanding of AI, right, and machine learning, that the more postings you have, the more interactions you have, the smarter the machine can become. But it's hard because, like, when you think of AI, think of a black box, right? You think of a black box, and the best analogy is if you have a black box, you have data. If I can let me go black here. This is the way to look at AI to really understand it, Rod, because this is the way I kind of try to pull it together sometimes, is that we have data coming in, right? And the way AI works is that this is the AI algorithm, right? And in here, it's going to give you the insight you want, right? Some insight. The problem is this thing is constantly adjusting, right, to the information. It's an algorithm. That's what machine learning is. That's what deep learning is, right? So you got some type of, deep learning algorithm here that's constantly taking in data from multiple sources, and it's learning and adjusting, learning and adjusting. That's what makes AI very interesting, because it's almost like you have to analyze the insight, and then this is called training the machine, and then give it feedback, right? And after a while, you don't give it feedback because you feel it knows what it's doing, and it just gets smarter on its own. So can we predict or ascertain the accuracy? I have no idea. There's no way you can actually get to that. So that's a big question you're asking. It's a great question, but a big question. All right. Going after dream prospects that you don't already know well, if you have any questions about the prospect's personality, you can use this to conform to your current assessment. Yeah, especially if you're on the conversation. Imagine this tool with the other tool we talked about, the Kojito tool. If you don't know what I'm referring to, because you missed that, it's called Kojito, and I think it's .ai. And it does a sentiment analysis and tells you, hey, slow down, speed up, be more empathetic. Now imagine understanding who you're going to talk to before you get on the conversation with them, and then, really having a great conversation. So yeah, that's a great way of using it. Great tool for salesperson. This is going to help bridge gap for salesperson who are struggling to gauge the customer's personality. In the results, and the sales cycle goes up, and chances to win become less. I think Michelle. You're bringing up a big point here. Is that oftentimes it's like when you get on the phone with somebody, you spend the first 3 to 5 minutes just trying to kind of like what's this person's groove, its vibe, right? This morning I was on a conversation with a gentleman from Australia, right? And this guy was like dry. Like I would like say something really light, a little levity, and he would just go silent on me. And I realized that this guy he was in purchasing. And so I immediately had to adjust my style, right? Like kind of like stop messing around, so to speak, and just adjust to him. But if I had something like that, I think if I'd known ahead of time, because it was a surprise call, I would have known that. So that was a perfect example this morning. I mean, I literally had to make adjustment on the fly. It's like you say something, you adjust. You say something, you adjust again. But you could argue, Michelle, and I think this is kind of what you're emphasizing, and I love, is that whole, saying something and adjusting, if you do that 2 or 3 times, they're already creating a first impression, which might be the wrong first impression. But if we had this information up front, we would know how to enter the conversation as opposed to just walking in blind. So great point, man. Thank you for that. That was a good one. Is there a case study on the conversion response rates with and without the software? Not that I know of, Sam. Fantastic question, right? Prove it. Does it work, right? So that's a fantastic question. Effective presentations under the foundational category. So what Brandon says, if you go to Sales Velocity Academy, if you're a member, if not, you should consider being one. It's effective presentations, and there's foundational, advanced, and then mastery courses. So you'll find it under the foundational one. Let me see. We have good tool for rookie salespeople will help promote critical thinking and knowing your audience. Skilled sales professionals could see minimal benefit unless it shortens the sales cycle. Matt, I'm going to slightly I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I agree that I think the rookies will get it. But I think if you're reaching out for the first time, no matter how seasoned you are, and I know what you're thinking, your seasoned people can adjust quicker. I agree with you on that. So we're on the same page. But I think it could help seasoned salespeople just knowing who they're going to get into a conversation with. Even if you're, let's say, a vice president of a company, right? If you're going to meet with another VP or a CEO of a company or a CTO, I would like to know that personality. We could probably guess it based on our experience, but I still think it could help senior people. What do you think, Matt? Are you with me, Matt? I think it could help senior people as well. Anthony Conklin says, this is the future of outreach. Great info. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for being here, Anthony. Yeah, all this stuff is starting to add up. What I think is going to happen is the best way to look at AI and what's happening today is there's a guy by the name of, I think it's Mike Kelly. I wrote about it in my book, Sales Ex Machina, who talked about that AI is going to be he said, look at AI as electricity. It's going to be everywhere. You just don't see it. It's going to be in all the devices. If you think about AI as electricity, it's everywhere, collecting data all the time. And the phrase he used, he's the guy who founded Wired magazine. The phrase he used was cognification. Cognification. That is, you take a refrigerator, you add some AI to it, you have a smart refrigerator. You take a car, you add AI to it, you have a smart car. You take a database, you add AI, you have an intelligent CRM. And I love that phrase, cognification, because that's the future. And I think at least the visual I use to understand AI and how we're going to use it in the future is just like if you have, your iPhone, right, or your Android, is that you're going to have all these apps, right? And these apps will be like, for example, hey, you know what? Before I reach out, let me hit the app Crystalnose and let me enter a couple of names. And then, oh, those are the personalities. We're good to go. Let me go meet with the customer right now. They're going to be like apps that we're going to be able to utilize. So yeah, Anthony, that is the future, man. Like talking to accounting. Yeah, no, I don't like talking to accounting, man. Sales Velocity Academy rocks. Thank you. Pete still apparently likes me after what I did to him, so that's cool. That tool looks cool. With that tool, I could automate email marketing or sales bot response. I think you can, Sergio. I think especially if you start, what would be interesting, Sergio, if you would be able to if you could do it across all your customers, right? Your top customers. I'm going to talk about your 15,000 people. I'm talking about your top 50. If you got your top 50, and what if you can take your top 50 and categorize them into D's, I's, S's, and C's, right? Whatever it may be, whatever you choose to do. And then based on their personalities, your emails that would go out would be customized. So if somebody's very analytical, you would send something that's very product centric, right? With a lot of data, a lot of specs, something that's very data centric heavy. If you have somebody who's more influential, you would send a different type of email to that group. So I can see that there's a possibility. So I like your thinking, said Hill. I like your thinking, man. It would be an extra step. I think so. It would be. I'm not disagreeing with you, Matt. It would be an extra step, but if you think about this, Matt, so you're a senior person, right? You're trying to connect with the CEO. I'm saying, yes, it's an extra step. Both agree on that. But keep in mind, I'm the sales guy. I've been trying to get a meeting with this CEO or whatever C-level executive for the last month and a half. I want to use every advantage I can, even if it's a small advantage about knowing the personality type. So I think we can agree that it is an extra step. And if we have time to take that extra step, which I would recommend, it would be a useful tool, right? And if it was, especially if it's not expensive, why not do it? Exactly. Automation is the future. The stuff that's going to be automated is, the tasks that are repetitive. I was reading a book by the Rain Group, the virtual selling book, and there's a model in there that I'm going to show you guys. I don't know when I'll put it out there, but I already highlighted it because it's such a great model that talks about the future of selling and who's still going to be in the game and which salespeople are no longer going to be in the game. And I'm telling you, when I saw this model, I was like, that's the model. This is a predictor of who is going to be in sales 5 to 10 years from now. AI or no AI, doesn't matter. Certain salespeople will drop off, but other salespeople will rise to the occasion. So I look forward to showing you that. Did I scare everyone off LinkedIn? You probably did, man. You probably did. Great tool for smart calling. Again, yeah, I love it, man. I think, combine that. Ugo, what do you got, Ugo? Let's round this down. Does the AI application or software predict a sales based on the questions asked by the salesperson or based on the prospect's response? Not this one. Not this one. And I think you would need, Ugo, you would need a more sophisticated one. Now, when you look at for example, I'll use Salesforce because I think, in their Einstein product, and again, it's in the book, Sales Ex Machina, I do a review of it, that you can create predictability scores, right? Because that's kind of what the machines do. And they take all these different data sources and compile them and then give you a prediction score in terms of whether you're able to close the deal or not close the deal. It'll take your email conversations. The future is going to take your actual voice conversations. I showed a software called Otter.ai on Tech Tuesday, and Otter.ai records your text when you're on a Zoom call. And that text eventually will be dumped into a CRM and analyzed for possibility or not possible buying. So all this data is being collected. Everything on social media is being collected. All your conversations can be collected. What you've bought, company history. All of it's going to be pulled together to give you a score. Every single email, every single text, every single phone conversation, because now you can record the phone conversations through your CRM. They can translate that into text, transcribe it rather, and that's more data. All this stuff is what's being pulled together. And so I think, when you look at Salesforce, you look at HubSpot, I think even Pipedrive, there's a lot of companies that are trying to pull all this stuff together to give you a higher prediction score. That's what you're really asking me. So, dude, we're almost there, man. Pete says sorry. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk to you about. So as always, man, I like you guys being here. I kept it short and sweet. Here's some final thoughts. On this one, even though me and Matt do not agree, totally on senior people using it, I think anybody could use this. And I think it's a great thing to have. Somebody mentioned having this before a presentation. I think it was Herb or Sam that you talked about having this before you do a presentation to a bunch of shareholders. I think that's important, right? Knowing who's in the room. And again, if you get 20, 30 people, it probably isn't effective. But if you've got key people in the room, key decision makers, why not have this? Especially if you invested all this time, all this effort to get the meeting finally, right? Or let's say that you're selling an enterprise level type of system, right? And now you're down to the bake-off, right? The final 3. This is where you have to get in front of a committee of, let's say, 5 or 10 people who are going to make decisions. If I'm going to get in front of 5 or 10 people, I want to know who I'm getting in front of. Sure, I can ask about them and find out who they are, what their background is, but why not run a quick personality test to kind of see what I'm working with? And when the people ask me a certain question, I'll know how to respond. A person who's very direct wants a direct answer, right? The dominant person likes to talk. let the person talk, and I would ask them more questions, right? That's how I would handle a dominant personality, right? The amiable person wants to make sure we understand. So what I would do is tell me more about what you're thinking. Give me some ideas of what you're thinking. Here's how I think we can help you. So all of this are just added tools to help us become more effective. So again, I think what's fascinating about the software is the direction that all this is going in. All these applications, all these sales enablement applications are moving in a certain direction. And that is to make your job and my job that much easier by giving us the information, the content we need to be more effective at our job. And that is not a bad thing. And on that note, again, check out the Sales Velocity Academy. If you haven't, check it out. And that is it for this evening. Thank you guys for joining me. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.